It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I had the privilege of interviewing the Central Michigan head women's lacrosse coach, Coach Emilia Ward. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's lacrosse?
Yeah, so I think for me, my coaching journey kind of started when I was in high school. So I coached youth basketball my freshman and sophomore year of high school, kind of in the off season, and just really fell in love with, kind of the relationship piece and, being able to teach a game in which gave back to me so much at that point. And stuff. So obviously when lacrosse became a huge part of my life, and stuff, it kind of seemed natural for me to make that a career and stuff. So that was my goal through college was to get into college coaching and stuff, and was very fortunate that, right after graduation was able to get into it full time and stuff and get my career going.
What was that experience like for you getting to play collegiate lacrosse and going to Manhattan College?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. I think, being a kid from Michigan and stuff at that time, there were, a small handful of us each year that went to play in college, and that's definitely changed now, with the growth of the sport. But I think, having the opportunity to go to New York, I was a TV production major in communications, so obviously being in that environment on the education side was great, and then the lacrosse experience of having a lot of teammates from the tri-state area and some different backgrounds and stuff was a great experience for me.
What was that feeling like for you as a player getting to put on that uniform and representing Manhattan?
Yeah, I think it was a huge honor, and not something I think, myself or any of our teammates maybe realized how big of an honor it was at the time in which we were doing it. I think, getting into coaching after, you appreciate it maybe a little more and stuff, but it was a ton of fun being able to represent the school, across the country. And we were fortunate enough to win our conference, our freshman year, and play in the NCAA tournament. So I think having that experience early in my career was, a great experience. You just kind of crave it, the rest of the way that you're there.
What was that experience like for you as a player getting to play in that NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think it was a little different look then than it is now, I think, but it's always an honor to, kind of get that bid and be one of, at that point, I think there were only 16 teams that got in. So being, in that opportunity and playing one of the best teams in the country at that point, was a lot of fun and stuff for us as a program. And it was something we thought maybe was going to happen a lot more of in my career, and unfortunately that was the only year that we got there. So it kind of taught me as a coach, never take it for granted when you do get there and stuff, and instilling that in my players as well.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like getting started in coaching and becoming assistant coach at Adrian College?
It was great. So it was a little different. Look, I came in, it was only year two of the program, and stuff. So, coming in and helping, grow a program from scratch essentially was, it was an interesting experience in terms of the amount of recruiting work that went into it, and stuff, but also it's super fulfilling experience, and really just made me hungry to want to continue my coaching career and stuff with it. So we had a lot of fun in that 3 years that I was there. We won a lot of lacrosse games and stuff. And I think kind of that first group and stuff is always that group that you stay in touch with, the most since they got you your start.
Of course, coming in and you said being it was a first few years program. What was that like getting to experience kind of a program starting from the ground up versus already being established as an assistant coach?
Yeah, I think as a young assistant, I maybe got to kind of put my opinion on the program, or kind of my foot on the program a little more so than maybe if you come into a culture that's really established by that head coach and stuff, versus I kind of got to, help tag team building a culture and stuff. So maybe got some different experiences early in my career that had I gone to an established program right away, I might not have and stuff. And I think it really set me up. Obviously, throughout my resume, I've been a part of a lot of upstart programs. So kind of, was something that I really gravitated towards and enjoyed. But I think, that first experience really showed me, what college coaching is going to be, kind of the ups and downs of it and stuff. So being with a young program and getting, to be involved in so much of the process really helped me, I think, with where I am today.
Going to Winthrop, what was that experience like getting to be the assistant coach?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, I went with my boss from Adrian, so there was a familiarity there in terms of, coming over as a staff together. We had built a really good program at Adrian and stuff, and knew it was going to be a lot of work to do at the Division I level instead of the Division III level. But I think there was a lot of excitement to it. I think the school was really excited for the sport to get going and help build it at that level.
What was that feeling like when you got your first head coaching job?
Yeah, I think a little surprised, to be honest. I think I just turned 23, so to get a head coaching offer and stuff was a little surprising. And I think I had gotten some offers when I was at Adrian, didn't feel necessarily as though I was ready and stuff. And kind of making the move to Winthrop, we kind of had those discussions, and it kind of, if the right opportunity came and stuff, that maybe it was time. So getting that first opportunity is always a lot of fun. It's always a little stressful to go out on your own and stuff as well and take that risk. But was grateful for everything John had done for me, but it was time to, maybe move on and grow myself a little bit.
Being a young head coach at that time, what was that experience like going to Aldrin and getting to become their head coach?
Yeah, I think, it was another upstart program and stuff. And it was a big risk being in West Virginia, where there really was not a whole lot of high school lacrosse at the time. I think there were 6 high school programs in the whole state and stuff. So I think it offered, a new challenge. And, I'm definitely somebody I don't necessarily want to take the easy job and stuff. So it offered a new challenge for me to go out on my own, but also just really help, grow the sport in a state and stuff. So it was exciting to, kind of get going there and, get on the road recruiting right away and start to build a program.
What was that next step after you became a head coach for the first time and getting to still be a head coach and going to your next school?
Yeah, I think for me, it ultimately, some of it came down to location. I was offered, Alderson Broaddus was great to me, but I think I was offered an opportunity to go back to Michigan to start a program, and Kalamazoo College had such a just phenomenal academic reputation and kind of felt like it was a great fit for the sport of lacrosse in terms of the type of student that they drew in. Obviously knew the conference really well. It was in the same conference that Adrian was in. So kind of knew the recruiting base and that aspect of things really well. So that offered, a little different opportunity, be in a little bigger area and stuff as well. So, so that was kind of, the next jump for me, and kind of saw that as maybe a longer standing position that I could step into.
While at Kalamazoo, what were some of your biggest accomplishments there?
Yeah, I think obviously with it being an upstart program, I think, I think the first year of the program, I think we won 6 games and stuff. We had 2 all-conference players, which for a young program doesn't happen very often. And stuff, I think, the biggest accomplishments there was just kind of getting the program off and running, recruiting, really stabilized in that aspect of things. And I think, more so our girls off-field accomplishments and stuff there was just so fun to see, so many of them going on to med school or, starting their own companies. Some of them are, working in the court systems now and stuff. So kind of, seeing that first group on, what they achieved off the field a lot as well.
Of course, how was that experience like getting to go to Pfeiffer and becoming their head coach and getting to start that program?
Yeah, so I think, Pfeiffer was a different opportunity. So they were an established top 25 Division II program. And stuff. So, for me, that presented kind of that first opportunity to go and take over somebody else's culture versus, put my own in, and stuff. So, it offered a lot of fun opportunities with that. Obviously, a little warmer climate as well, get away from the cold for a little bit. And stuff. So, took that opportunity as, a way to maybe, transport myself, ultimately at that time, my goal was to get to the Division I level. So, obviously moving to a well-respected Division II program was kind of that next step.
Of course, what was that experience like going to Pfeiffer where you said they were well known and they had their culture built already?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was it really taught me to kind of take a step back, when I got there and just really learn from the players, kind of get their gauge of what did they really like, maybe from the culture before it, what didn't they like, and stuff, not trying to, come in and blow it all up and stuff. So really, kind of taking the school culture as well. So that way when I'm, taking the job, and getting out on the road recruiting, that I can really, sell the institution as a whole.
Of course, going to Northern Michigan, what was that experience like being their head coach?
Yeah, so obviously Northern was another upstart program. So state of Michigan always, finds a way to keep calling me back and call me back to start a Division II program. Some things had gone on, some restructuring at Pfeiffer gone on, and stuff, and this opportunity came up. So it made a little more sense in terms of where I wanted to go with my career to make that move. So, I think it was, it was a very different experience up there in terms of, I was in the state that I had grown up in, but it was almost like I was in another world, and stuff. So I was, 7 hours from kind of the closest high school across, and stuff. So it was a little different challenge in terms of, the recruiting base and where do we, where are we going to find our players? What areas are we going to tackle, and stuff, and really involving the local fan base and kind of getting them, educated on the sport of lacrosse and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun for myself and our staff to really get out into the community there and kind of, teach them the sport, at its root level.
What was that transition like for you going from being a head coach for so many years to then transitioning to become an assistant coach and going to Marquette?
Yeah, so I think, the shift to Marquette was definitely, it was kind of that next step on my list of, wanting to get to the Division I level, and stuff. And I knew, going back and being an assistant, I think was a necessary step for me, in terms of both learning the Division I game at that point, kind of, learning from a different head coach. I had only worked for one other head coach. So getting a sense of their style, their philosophy, what they do in the office and on a daily basis. So, for me, the Marquette experience was super, super valuable for a lot of reasons.
How was that experience like for you going to take that volunteer assistant job and going to Michigan and learning from them?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of, very similar of wanting to learn. And that was really a job, obviously, coming in as, kind of that volunteer position, working mostly with just one position, really allowed me to, see what the ins and outs look like at a Power 5 institution. Marquette was just kind of hitting that point while I was there, like being pretty close to that Power 5 level. But obviously you go to a Big Ten school and it's everything's just a little, more enhanced and a little bigger. So just having that opportunity kind of for that year to sit back and learn and really, put my foot on the program where I felt like, I could help things, and then, kind of figuring out what my next step, really was going to be going from there in my career.
Going to a Power Five program like Michigan, what were some of the things that you learned to then help you to make that transition to one day become a head coach again?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just seeing how that staff, how they functioned in the office, how they structured practice, um, and stuff, how involved Hannah as a head coach was in every aspect, but still in the field on field development of her players. So I think, just kind of seeing, okay, what things did I really like that I used to do as a head coach? What things did I really like that the Marquette staff did? As well as obviously taking, things that everything that I took from Michigan um, and stuff, and kind of figuring out, okay, if I go to be a head coach again, or if I go to be an assistant coach somewhere else, what things can I bring, to really help that program.
Throughout your coaching time, what has it been like geographically being mostly in the Michigan area?
Yeah, I think it's, obviously being a Michigan kid, and stuff, I always, like, if you had asked me when I was in college, yeah, you're gonna spend your coaching career in Michigan, I would have, laughed because there wasn't really anything, any programs for me to go back to. And I think even early in my coaching career, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna end up on the East Coast, and stuff. And I think it's being from the Midwest and part of it is I have a lot of recruiting ties here, so it definitely helps, staying in this location. But I think too, it's not very often you get to be by your family, and stuff. And I've been fortunate for a lot of my career to have, the support of my parents and aunts and uncles and stuff, being within a few hours of, a lot of the jobs that I've been at. So it just kind of gives you that added support with the crazy lifestyle that we live.
What was that feeling like getting announced to become the next head coach for Central Michigan and coming to Central Michigan?
Yeah, I think it was pretty humbling actually. So it was always my goal to be a Division I head coach, but I think through kind of all the turns that I had in my coaching career, wasn't actually sure if that was my next step or not. And the opportunity obviously came up here at Central, and it just kind of going through the process seemed like the ideal fit. In terms of, I think Sarah had done such a phenomenal job, getting this culture going, and a lot of the values that the culture lived by, were values that I lived by through, other teams that I had built. So it was kind of ideal in that setting. Being able to take over a team that I've just won does not happen very often. So, for me, it was kind of, similar to when, going to Pfeiffer in terms of coming in and kind of being ready to listen and learn from the players on what they loved, what they didn't, what changes they wanted to have, made and stuff, even, administratively, what, things they saw for the program. So I think it was, super exciting, to get announced.
Of course, after being announced, what was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto that lacrosse field for the first time?
Yeah, I think it was a little nervous, and stuff, taking over a team that had just won a conference championship. You always, you of course want to do it again, and stuff. So I think, a little nervous of, okay, are we gonna be able to repeat that success, and as well as, put kind of my foot on the program and stuff like that. So, but I think our girls here are such phenomenal people that nervousness kind of was studied by them pretty quickly.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the Central Michigan lacrosse program?
Yeah, I think, something that I would, kind of, everyone always asks kind of how would you describe your team? And I would say, we're a very, very blue collar, hardworking group, and stuff. So a lot of them have, maybe a little chip on their shoulder. They maybe didn't get recruited initially by, one of the Power Fives and stuff, and they kind of want to show what they're made of here. And stuff. So you always love that at this level. You never want a kid who's just, they're excited to be here, obviously, but you want a kid who maybe got spurred by somebody a little bit and wants to go show that team, that they could have helped that program as well. And stuff. So I think, our culture is definitely very, very blue collar, hardworking. and stuff, but I think they're also very, very unselfish. So whether that's, working in the community, working towards, the betterment of the group here, I think, they just really, really get the whole big picture of that it's a huge privilege to be able to put on that Central Michigan uniform.
What are some of the traditions that you've helped to implement so far for game days?
Game day we kind of keep for the girls. It's stuff in terms of, locker room traditions and those types of things. And stuff we tend to keep that for the girls tend to come up with a lot of that aspect of things. I'm pretty mellow on game day for the most part. I'm not necessarily a huge speech person, so we like to keep it pretty simple. And stuff in the locker room. So I can't say I brought a whole lot of new traditions in that sense. The girls definitely kind of hand that down year to year.
Of course, who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against each week?
Yeah, I think probably our two longest standing rivals are Robert Morris and Kent State. And stuff. The conference has come down to us and Robert Morris the last 3 years. So that one, obviously until somebody else comes into the mix in that championship game, it'll always be the two of us. And stuff for that, obviously having now some in-state, rivals with Eastern Michigan coming up. And obviously Detroit Mercy being in the conference as well is always fun because you get kind of the local, competition, but obviously, you're always going against them on the recruiting trail and stuff like that. So it kind of builds through that sense before we get it on the field.
What is that like, obviously having those in-state rivalries like Eastern Michigan?
Yeah, I think it's, we're excited to see that rivalry grow. So obviously last year they were in their first year as a program and stuff, but I think they're going to be a program that, is going to be a force to be reckoned with here in the next few years and stuff. So, it just kind of hits a little different when it's a traditional MAC school as well versus Robert Morris is an affiliate and stuff. So I think, kind of the school gets a little more engaged in those types of rivalries as well. And stuff in the athletic departments, the other student athletes kind of know what it feels like to play those teams and stuff. So it just kind of builds it. So we're excited to see kind of each year how that rivalry, kind of grows and grows.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Robert Morris comes to home versus going away and playing teams like Robert Morris away?
Yeah, so we're an interesting group. Our fan base, our families travel extremely well. So sometimes we actually have a bigger fan base than the home team does when we go on the road. So and stuff. So I think, for us, that is kind of the atmosphere that stays the same, other than obviously when you play a game at home, there's nothing like having, your football team in the stands cheering for you when you're in a big game, or, the women's soccer team, cheering you on. So I think you get the other athlete support, obviously, for those home games is huge. So we get a couple of those rivalry games here at home this year, which will be a lot of fun.
So far in your coaching career as a head coach at Central Michigan, what have been some of the things that you've been able to accomplish?
Yeah, I think, right out of the gate, obviously the conference championship and NCAA tournament berth, and stuff, we're huge. And stuff, I think that's now kind of become the goal and the standard for the program. So, and stuff, I think some other things is, academically, we continue to really just make a big push here, increasing our team GPA every single semester. And, most of that is obviously on the girls themselves. So setting those goals and working hard in the classroom. And then I think, some other things that we've implemented are, just kind of our strength of schedule of increasing that every season. So last year we increased it a little bit. This season, I think we have 5 teams who made the NCAA tournament last year, or were just missed making it. And stuff. So should be, kind of a lot of fun to see where this group goes.
How has it been like, obviously, creating that championship culture at Central Michigan for the women's lacrosse?
Yeah, I think it actually was not a hard sell to the girls. I think that was something they really, really wanted, and the groundwork had been laid. So they had won a couple conference championships, obviously, prior to me coming in, and stuff. So a lot of that was there. So it was just kind of, I think the big piece is with every group is making sure they don't get complacent. on it. So making sure they understand how hard it is, to repeat and to continue, to reach that level. So, increasing the competition level at practice is a huge thing that we do. We're just finding, little ways that we can challenge them, to kind of keep that mentality and stay fresh. And then, a lot of times it's through recruiting the underclassmen because they didn't get that ring the year before, and making sure that they're super hungry to go get one, to kind of keep maybe a seniors won a couple, keep them, hungry to keep going for it too.
As a head coach, what do you look at in the recruitment process when looking at those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, I think first thing is athlete. And stuff, obviously our game is all about speed at this point. So, that's kind of the first thing. Okay, are they, fast enough, athletic enough to play at our level? That checks the box. That obviously, on field looking, for some specific characteristics, for their position that we might have. But then a huge piece for us is the phone call process, the visit to campus, getting around our players, and stuff is really a huge piece for me. And stuff, and how they interact with them, how do they interact with their parents when they're here on a visit, in that aspect of things, because ultimately it's going to be the person who, impacts the program way more than the player.
What does that official visit look like for those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, so I think we try to keep it pretty streamlined for everybody. And stuff. So obviously we spend a lot of time with them when they're here. If there is a football weekend, we'll obviously, usually finish up with a football game, or it might be, an event we have on campus and stuff. But generally our players lead them on campus tours, and stuff. We'll take them through our facilities, and stuff. And then, obviously meeting with myself, our strength coaches, any support staff that kind of maybe fits that specific recruit, as well as always meeting with our academic advisor to go through all the resources we have here on campus.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those prospective student athletes fall in love with the campus and even the lacrosse facility?
I think it's one of the best parts of the job. So I think if, I love recruiting, I love, getting to know the student athlete and kind of their families and their, kind of what they want to get out of the experience when they're here. So I think, Central is one of those special places. Very often when they're here, it's very hard for them to say no once they leave. And stuff. I think the campus community here is really a special one. And I think our girls do such a great job of showing the whole experience that they're going to get, and stuff. So it's a lot of fun to see when you kind of see a kid maybe turn from just liking the school to being like, yeah, I'm ready to pull the trigger here and, spend the next 4 years.
As a head coach, what is it like getting to see those freshmen put on that uniform for Central Michigan for the first time versus your seniors putting it on for the last time?
Yeah, kind of both are bittersweet, right? So, obviously freshmen, them putting it on for the first time, they have no idea what is kind of, sitting ahead of them. So, it might be a kid who doesn't see the field at all in their, early in their career. It might be a kid who starts every game as a freshman. They kind of have that innocence and stuff with them when they put it on, and kind of that giddiness, and stuff. And then I think, when a senior puts it on for the last time and stuff, they've gone through all of those experiences, and you kind of see, both a little worn downness because it's a hard, 4 years or 5 years now, most of them take, and stuff. And I think kind of just seeing that look of like, of that accomplishment of everything that they've, given to the program, and obviously them seeing a freshman put it on for the first time, as well as kind of like, okay, kind of handing that torch over as well of, I've put my stamp on the program. Now it's time for you to go do it.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing, let's say, the freshmen score their first goal versus your seniors scoring those last few goals in their career?
Yeah, I think anybody, whether it's their freshman year or they don't score their first goal until their junior year, we had a senior last year score their first just because of the position that they were in. And stuff, your first goal is always super special. And stuff. And I think it's important to, as a coach to celebrate it. And stuff to always make sure that, you talk about it in the post game and stuff and congratulating them, whether it's sending them a text message, whether it's, doing a game ball kind of, and stuff. I think it's a really important that they know how exciting it is. And stuff, and that it's, we don't take it lightly because you never know how many you're gonna get. And stuff. And then I think, senior kind of walking off that field for the last time and stuff, and stuff, I think it's same thing, celebrating everything that they've done and in that time frame they've given to the program.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing your players go on and play professional lacrosse, whether it's Athletes Unlimited, the US route, or even overseas?
Yeah, I think so we actually have a couple girls on the team right now who are on their national teams. So they actually will get the opportunity to play, and one played in the World Cup this past 2 summers ago. And stuff. So that was super exciting. I had a Michigan player get drafted into Athletes Unlimited 2 years ago, and it's a cool feeling. And stuff, but I think it's more so it's everything they've accomplished in stuff to get themselves there, to either to get to the pro level in our sport where there's so many limited opportunities to it, as well as having, kind of that motivation to continue to play for your national team and stuff outside of the wear and tear that they're doing on a college level, and stuff. It's just exciting, and you love to see them continue to want to grow the sport and kind of that all their hard work paid off.
For you as a coach and a head coach, what's it like seeing your players go into the coaching lifestyle and taking things that you learn into their coaching life?
That's why, it's really why I do it. I want our kids to go, whether it's at the college level, whether it's at, coaching youth, in their hometown or, club and stuff, you hope that your time as a coach made them love the sport enough that they want to go, encourage others to get involved in it and grow it. And stuff. Kind of had it happen this year that the head coach now at Detroit Mercy actually is a former player of mine from Adrian. So, and stuff. So it's kind of all coming full circle now. We'll be on the sidelines against each other as head coaches versus head coach and assistant coach. And stuff. So it's an exciting, experience always to kind of see that coaching tree start to get built and grow, but it's really about just giving back to the sport.
Of course, as you said that, what is that like as a coach getting to see your former players become coaches and get to be on the sidelines against you?
Yeah, it's fun. I'll coach against, I think, 3 former players this year in some capacity, whether as assistant coaches or head coaches, and stuff. And it's just, it's fun to see their excitement level in it, but also just, kind of what did they maybe take from you when you were coaching them, and stuff that they take, to their team and stuff now.
What are some of your future plans for Central Michigan's lacrosse program moving forward?
Yeah, I think, kind of just continuing on the path that we're on. So it's our goal to continue to compete for MAC championships here. And, in turn, our ultimate goal is to win a game in the NCAA tournament here in the next couple of years, and stuff. So, just continuing to grow the program and grow, kind of the notoriety of it, but more so in terms of for the institution, just kind of maybe getting some recruits from different areas and stuff than the school historically has.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college lacrosse?
Oh, I would say leave it all out there. So don't be afraid to make a mistake, and use your coaches as resources. Don't be afraid to go into your coaches' offices, even the head coach, and have those conversations, have those on-field sessions, and stuff. I think the freshmen who take advantage of those things are the ones who, especially by their junior and senior year, are the leaders of the programs versus the ones who maybe it doesn't pan out for them as much and they transfer out.
What advice would you give those college lacrosse players looking to go play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or the national team route?
Yeah, I think very similar, leave it all out. It's very, very limited in the girls who do get to go play at the pro level. And stuff. So I think, if you have that opportunity, it's because you're good enough. So trust it and, go show everything that, you gave at the college level and just continue to grow.
What advice would you give those players out there looking to get into coaching after their playing career ends?
Yeah, I think be ready for everything and stuff with coaching. I think a lot of young, athletes get out of playing and they're like, oh, I want to stay involved in the sport, so I'm just going to get into coaching. And they don't quite, understand maybe everything that goes into it or kind of the crazy lifestyle that we lead, especially as young assistants. So I think, be ready for everything and, enjoy every experience that comes your way.
What advice would you give those coaches out there looking to become head coaches and build their own program and build their own legacy?
Yeah, I think build as many relationships as you can. So use the mentors and stuff. We have our sport's very special that you could call, the number one coach in the country and they're probably going to take a phone call with you and talk to you for a little bit. So, build those relationships and stuff because you never know who can help you, get to that next step or what conversation you had comes up one day when you're talking to a kid in the office and stuff that somebody's, had that conversation with you before.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program app?
Yeah, so the program, everything is at CMU Lacrosse and stuff. So we have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and then I am on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm Coach Ward 11 on Instagram.
Thank you again, Emilia Ward, for your interview and best luck in your future with the Central Michigan as the head women's lacrosse coach.
Thanks so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Emilia Ward, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.